Do people change? This is a lifelong question, a question that everyone has had to ask or think about. Maybe when thinking about an ex, or thinking about a friend or coworker who's wronged you, or microwaved fish. Do people change? And how we punish them is integral to the Webtoon series we're taking a look at today. Hellbound! An incredibly powerful and menacing title. Hellbound is a recent not only Webtoon series, but also Netflix live-action series. It has joined the Webtoon live-action library. So if you want to read it and watch it happen, now's the chance to do it. I will be checking out both, so I encourage you to do so as well. But this recent series has some intense themes and moments, so here's your warning. I'll avoid showing off anything too gruesome, but this series goes hard. Just your heads up before getting into this. Now, unlike most other series that I cover, Hellbound doesn't really seem to have a main character or a protagonist yet. But what it does have is an incredibly terrifying plot. Let me explain. In Hellbound, there's a new religion going around called the New Truth Society. Terrifying name. This society has an interesting way of getting new believers. Like a lot of religions, they preach about God, angels, sin, and hell, about justice and doing the right thing. However, they have an extra little bit of spice that makes their religion a little more intriguing. We hear from the head of the organization, Jin Sang-jeon, explain it pretty clearly to us. Notices are delivered indiscriminately and without warning. The contents of the notices are simple. The recipient's name, the fact that they're going to hell, and how much time they have left. He goes on to explain how once time is up, the demonstration is carried out, no matter where they are or what they're doing. By the start of the series, many people don't believe in this society, however, they're soon proven very wrong. When someone in the same cafe is targeted by these monstrosities that go on the hunt and eventually kill their first victim. It's hard to deny it. Visual effects are one thing, but these creatures go through the cities, interact with actual objects and people to kill this man. It is hard to deny it now. Now, why is this man targeted? Notices claim that people are going to hell. In most portrayals of hell, it's an afterlife for people who've done wrong in the world. The consequences of your actions, even if your actions didn't have consequences during your time alive. The man that was killed wasn't innocent, as a few days after he died, 3 burnt bodies were found buried under his home. 3 bodies that connect back to an unsolved missing persons case. The man who died was at best someone who purposely hid 3 bodies underneath his home, and at worst, a murderer. He wasn't a good person. He hid the truth from the world, and now he's getting his comeuppance. Right? It's an interesting line to walk. A line that many series that I'll get into walk as well. The idea that I mentioned before, do people change and how we punish them? Both are important to not only this story, but other Webtoon original series, like Unordinary and Somebody Ask It as well. Why do people sin? Those who supposedly take care of others. People who claim that humans are the basis for our values cite all kinds of reasons. They grew up in a bad environment, or it's a problem with our structure of society, a psychological illness, or that they were drunk or on drugs. Where is the individual in these excuses? It's as if they view humans as nothing but empty vessels to be filled with external factors. Sin exists because people want to sin. Why is there bad in the world? Any religion or group seeking enlightenment or even answers has to answer this incredibly complex question. Why is the world filled with evil? If there's a God, then why do people suffer? Jinsen's answer is simple and cutthroat, but also valid. Sin exists because people want to sin. People have free will and are given the option to do anything in the world. Giving anyone free will doesn't necessarily make you an evil person, but you're not truly free if you weren't allowed to do anything. Don't get me wrong, you shouldn't be allowed to do anything you want, but you have to understand the more freedom you have, the less safe the world is, and vice versa. It's hard to disagree with his answer. Sin, evil, suffering, problems, pain, destruction, these all exist because humanity chooses for it to exist. Maybe not directly sometimes, but often it can be pretty directly. However, leaving it at sin exists because people want to sin is missing a big point, especially his claims against certain excuses. Excuses of problematic upbringing, society itself being broken, or psychological illnesses is a very problematic standpoint. These excuses don't give permission for their terrible acts, but it gives us insight onto these people and how we should move forward. To show why, I'm going to quickly go through 2 Webtoon series and avoid spoiling as much as I can. But slight spoilers for Unordinary and Samadhi. Let's start with Unordinary, a very popular Webtoon series, especially on my channel. Unordinary focuses on John, a powerless in a world of powers. Just about everyone has superhero-like powers called abilities. Anything from lightning manipulation to shield powers. Everyone but our main character, John. John goes through life as a crippled, someone who has no ability. Because of this, John is an easy target for abuse and bullying, constantly getting beaten down by people with powerful abilities. I don't want to spoil too much, and I've already admitted a lot, but by the end of the first season, John's going through some things. Upset and angry for getting beaten down for 2 years, and he's not wrong. He's justified in being angry. The problem arises when the tables are turned. He reasonably should punish people for their actions. It makes sense. The problem is that society itself deems the strong as people who can do whatever they want. Most of these kids were told that their strength was basically a free pass to do whatever they wanted. This doesn't justify their actions, but brings an interesting point into what Jin Sung brought up. That excuse of a problem with the structure of our society. He said that exactly. There's a major problem with the structure of an ordinary society. Saying that society needs to get fixed is a daunting task. That's even brought up a lot in the story, but it's an integral one. Because when society itself is broken, we can't fault it when the members of said society are broken as well. Which also brings us to Samadhi, a series I have yet to talk about. Much like Unordinary, Samadhi has superpowered people. However, unlike Unordinary, these people are few and far between. We're actually not even going to talk about the main character, but the main villain of the series, known as the Hangman. This character doesn't use powers for typical evil deeds, instead choosing to execute people who have done horrible deeds. People who have done truly awful things. Oftentimes, these people have just been released from prison. Many people believe that they should be killed for what they've done, that they don't deserve a second chance. And yet again, it's hard to argue with them, especially due to some of the crimes committed by these people. But that raises an interesting couple of questions. The first being, where is the line? We've seen people being punished and killed for terrible crimes. Sure, it's a little divisive, but both sides make sense. However, with Hellbound, the question becomes, what is sin? The talk about heaven, angels, God, and hell makes it seem like it's at the very least an Abrahamic religion. And yeah, murder, kidnapping, robbery, arson, and more, these are all sins. But there are a lot of smaller actions that could be considered sins as well. But what that also brings up is the point of many of these religions, which is forgiveness. Many of these types of religions preach about how God is a forgiving deity, how if you seek repentance, he will forgive you. I know this might be a little heavy, but it's important when discussing religion. The idea that no sin is too grave for forgiveness. However, these monsters in Hellbound kind of cut to the chase, don't they? The idea of an afterlife is that after you die, you're going to be sent somewhere that correlates to your actions on Earth forever. The literal consequences to your actions, the good or the bad, come in the afterlife. These acts of God are intense, they're brutal, and strangely enough, not just harmful to the person being targeted, but to the people who are close by as well. When chasing this guy, the first victim, we see that these monsters break through walls and glass, push bystanders away, even crush cars. Sure, we don't see anyone but the target die, but someone could have been in that car. That glass could have went in someone's eye. The monsters could have pushed someone in the wrong way that ended up killing them. Sure, maybe these people aren't innocent, but the start of the series has someone who believes in Jin's song. What if that guy died? They do a lot of damage for creatures that are just seeking justice. But this isn't justice. Justice isn't a threat. Justice isn't suffering or pain onto bystanders. This isn't justice. This is horror. But that's all for today. So like always, thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you next week. Take care.